Hey, welcome everybody. This is How to Build Your Own Home. Every Thursday we are live from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is the Rocky Mountains basically. And I do have a couple questions from students. I've been printing them out and I will be going over those really quickly and getting to the business. I wanted to say thank you to a subcontractor gave me this really cool a Leatherman's, and it's actually a Swiss Leatherman, and I've never seen that before. I love gadgets and stuff like that. So I wanted to say thank you for Cameron for giving me this. I gave him a lot of work, and I will treasure this. It's really, really cool. So I won't open it here, but wanted to say thank you. And I love little tools like that. Put it in your truck. I've got screwdrivers and cutters and pliers and everything just in that little Leatherman. So I'm excited about that. Let's take a couple of questions here. I wanted to get this one because I know this person is going to watch later on, and I wanted to answer this question. This is from Beth, and she asks, before taking my design to a drafts person, I would like to draw and view it in an app for house plans. Excel and my imagination aren't quite getting me there with the window layout options. It is a small 986 square foot house, one story. Does anyone have a suggestion on app that is fairly easy to work with? Thank you for your shared information. So I've seen a lot of owner builders. They get into these apps. Some of them are free, some of them are not free, and some of them are free, but they have upgrades and stuff like that. It's a tool to create. It's a tool to have fun, but it's not a real tool for design. I don't spend time doing that. I just want to give it right to a drafts person. My drafts person, who also does a lot of work for a lot of my students, has basically multiple editions. You can have redline it several times until you get confident. Here's the advantage of that. A real good drafts person really knows the space you need for a toilet, the space you need for a stackable washer and dryer, the space you need for a side-by-side washer and dryer, the space you need for a stove, all the doors, where they swing and how much they're going to take up, how much space they're going to take up. They have all of those factors in their head. So if you're designing something just to have fun, great, but the accuracy is going to be way off. You're not even going to be close. And so I don't like to waste time like that, to be honest with you. The only thing that I do on a home is that I will get some graph paper, and I had some right here, and thought I had some. Oh, here we are. I'll take some graph paper like this, and it's basically I don't know if you can see the lines on there, but each square on there can equal a foot. So I will do my footprint. That's as far as I will go with my own creativity. In fact, I've got to do this for an ADU for a client. And so I'm going to convert some sort of a garage to an ADU. So I'm going to go and do the interior dimensions of the garage, and I'll put it on here, and I'll kind of indicate where we want to do plumbing and a little kitchenette, one spot, maybe a light or a window, another window, etc. But it's on a one-dimensional surface. It's not on a two-dimensional plane, and it's not even a three-dimensional elevation that I can see the whole thing inside and out. So that's as far as I go with design. And I wouldn't spend too much time on that and being creative, because you have to ask yourself, where is your time best spent? And I want to emphasize this, and we're going to go some questions here. A lot of owner builders are they're entrepreneurs to some degree, but as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, where do you put your money? Where you can grow the business, where you can acquire more clients. But we forget that as owner builders, and we waste an enormous amount of time on something that really, if you paid somebody else to do it and spent the time you know best how to spend to make money, that's what you should do. So I've seen so many people make the mistake of taking an enormous amount of time to do something and there's no real return on that investment of time. Time is money. You've heard that spoken of many, many times. And a lot of times owner builders forget that. Oh, I can do that. I can do that. Or you can't. And if you think you can, you're going to find yourself spending more time doing that and losing opportunity elsewhere. So something to think about. Let's take some questions real quick here. My beautiful wife is there. Early question here. Ever heard of lender asking for a draw schedule showing when you will need the money and how much? I just responded to a question just like that in the self-managed course. And yes, they will ask for a draw schedule, but you do not need to be specific. You can say that we're going to have draws twice a month, and they're going to be based upon the invoices that have arrived up until that point. You can't know exactly when the plumbing or framing or et cetera, draws are going to come. But you can say twice a month, and there will be between 18 and 26 draws during the course of that build, or twice every month until job is completed. But don't get sucked into a draw once a month. That's going to be kind of painful. You're going to want them twice a month, the 15th and the 1st, or something like that. And if you can push for 2 draws, that's great. In the self-managed course, the budget schedule that I have, if you click on the second page of that Excel file, it actually lines out your draws, and you can actually record every single draw, and you can see how much you're spending, how much your budget was, where you're over, under on certain lines. It's very organized for you. And you can actually give that to the bank and say, okay, here's the budget. And if they ask you, can you get a draw schedule? You say, yeah, it's on the second page of the Excel file. And if you can say that, you tell them, look, it's right there. And we anticipate between 18 and 26 draws, depending upon the length of the build. So there's your answer for that. Okay.
Okay.
Not by code, but is a tub required in a master bath? Bath remodelers talk about converting a tub to a shower. I haven't had a bath for 20 years. Why is it needed in a master bath, or is it?
Yeah.
My wife that question.
Yeah, you don't have to have a tub in a master bathroom, in a primary bathroom. And there's a lot of homes that are just doing the walk-in shower. So, yeah, you don't need it.
Yeah, you don't need it. It used to be kind of a forced imperative, market demand, but it's not anymore. People are loving showers, especially steamed showers, endless hot water. Showers are bigger now. They have benches on showers. I can sit down in my shower and I can stretch and have hot water hitting my back, and I am just fine. But I like hot baths too when it's really cold up here in the mountains. So, good question. And you'll save a lot of money, by the way. These tubs are $900 to $6,000. I mean, who needs that? I'm looking to keep things simple for my first build. How can I know when to use traditional techniques, materials versus using a modern system, material type, e.g. zip system versus plywood wrap? I would never use a zip system. It's just not worth it. I would rather take that extra money and put it into an external thermal envelope and putting that on the home than zip system. If you've heard me talk before, I love to have my home breathe, but I like a thicker coat on it. And so if you know in the wintertime and you're out shoveling snow and you go out, the first minute you go out, you zip up, you put your thing around your neck and all that kind of stuff. It's great. You start building up heat. Got to take up that coat, let it air out in there. Otherwise, you're going to sweat to death. And so the zip system doesn't allow for that unzipping unless you have makeup air. And then if you have makeup air, then you're risking a lot. So put it into a thicker envelope and not into making it so sealed up that the home can't breathe. So I could talk forever on that question. Regarding crawl space, stem wall that will support first floor omniblock and first floor trusses. Better to use standard grout filled CMU or poured concrete. Why? Cost, strength. Not necessarily. You're going to get them all there in the first place. The Omniblock is going to be insulated. And so you're going to have 2 thermal breaks inside that Omniblock wall. Whereas with the regular CMU wall, you're not. So if that stem wall is in the ground and it's down at the bottom of the top of the footing there, and you're going to have cold earth up against that foundation, you're going to want a thermal break in there. It's either that or spend the extra money and put insulation on the inside of that CMU wall until you move into the Omniblock, if that's what you end up doing. But why do that? That's just so labor intensive, and I've done it that way with regular concrete stem walls. I'd rather just have the insulation all done, taken care of, and you're good to go. So, and the strength is the same. You're going to have the same rebar, the same concrete per cell requirement in either case. So you're fine, but to go with full Omniblock on that, you'd be just okay. Okay, we're going through your building program and living on site and cabin. Have decided to build a combined shed and house all at once instead of 2 separate buildings. 40 by 120 story slab. Cool. Would like to see some pictures of that when you guys get going. Let's see here.
Looks like you already answered Shannon's
yeah, hello
question.
From Indiana.
Then we have
Indiana.
Peter from Atlanta.
Atlanta. That's cool.
Yay.
I like that hat. That hat's cool.
Yeah.
Getting the shell up and dried in to store equipment and materials will be so nice as we finish the inside. Lots of harsh conditions in Wisconsin. Oh yeah, especially this time of the year. And you're on I think it's I don't know what they call the leeward side or the wayward side, whichever side gets most of the wind. I don't know what that's called. But Chicago is on the west side of, I think, Lake Superior, and you're above that, if I'm correct. So they have a lake effect there, and I think that lake effect comes off the lake, and it goes right in Chicago. And if you're up there in Wisconsin, you're probably getting those cold winters right off those lakes as well, especially if you're real close to the lakes.
Oh, I was trying to see. Yeah, I don't know where they said they were from. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Soils morphologist. That's interesting. Morphologist required to write soils report and septic plan to get permit. He will be coming next Friday. Lots of rain in the forecast this week. Could the rain skew his report? Not really, because he's going to actually do a proctor, and he'll take the soil with him. And if the soil is really wet, he can determine how fast it's going to percolate in the lab. But it would be nice to see if the perk does perk fast there on site. It might be beneficial to know where that test pit is going to be, and then put a tarp over it, keep it dry. The drier you can keep that soil, the better, because it's going to actually increase his perk test. So if the soil is saturated, really, really saturated, it will affect that perk to some degree. But they know how to factor that in. What you don't want to do is dig the test pit 2 or 3 days before and then have all that moisture in there. You want to have a backhoe there to dig it when he's there. So it's going to get closer to dry ground or less saturated ground, so that his perk test can be as accurate as possible. So just be wary of that and talk to him and let him know. Is this going to be an effect on us if we have excess of moisture? And he should be able to give you some clarity on that.
Okay, she has 2 more here to go along with that.
Is your soils video, you discuss a few different depths. How deep should I ask him to dig for this test? Undisturbed land, notorious for clay, rural northwest Missouri. Okay, that's rolling hills. 2nd tier lake lot, 1 acre.
Hey, keep reading.
Testing away from house footprint. Any other tips that I should look for when I'm there with him? He's going to need the footprint of the home, and the architect is going to do that. They'll actually put a site plan and place exactly where the home is going to go, and he's going to need that. And then, because he can't do that test pit inside that footprint, it's gonna make everything bad for you down the road, especially if it's a deep well footprint. He's going to go outside in the lower elevation of that footprint, and he's going to do a perk test in that location. And he'll make that selection. You can't make that for him. If you start to guide him and coax him, that is not a third party removed. You need to be removed from that, let him do his job. But he can't do it without that footprint. You can make some suggestions, such as that if you are on 8 acres, you say, I'd like to preserve this land over here. So if you can do a septic anywhere but here, I would appreciate it. And then you let him know that you would like to put a pool or a garden or something, or that you want to put some really big trees in a particular location because you want that cool summer break from the trees during the summer. And then he'll know that. If you talk with him about what you want, that's going to help him. But keep in mind that septic has to remain clear. You really can't plant a lot of trees on it, especially cottonwood or poplars that just root in there real fast and do a lot of damage to it. So you're going to want to place it in a place that you know is going to be clear and free.
Okay, this one's continued.
Continued curious more on when do I know I should opt for a new modern technique, materials over tried and true. Zip was just an example. You know, it's kind of like going from 2x4 to 2x6. For the longest time, builders built homes with 2x4s forever, and they rattled, and we realized there was less efficiency. And then most builders moved right into a 2x6. There are some that moved right into a 2x8 wall, and that benefit alone far exceeds what you'd get with a thin little membrane that Zip gives you. Think about that. A thin little membrane of air, no air penetration or moisture penetration at all, versus another 1.5 inches of insulation and depth and stability and strength to the home. You add all those. So when I think about a technology, I think about a technology that solves several problems. For example, the first home I built with 2x4s. I wasn't thinking. The front door rattled the entire home. Had I built it with 2x6, that would have slowed that and stopped it considerably. It would have been a more solid house, more efficient home, a stronger home. And that's where I like, for example, efficiency and strength. Those are two things you get with that kind of a new addition of technology, meaning more lumber, more meat on the home. And that's where I think. I think in terms of, can this technology solve for 1, 2, 3, 4 problems? That's why I like aluminum shingle roofs. It has a radiant barrier on it, keeps the heat out during the summer, keeps the heat during the winter, has a 100-year warranty. Ooh, that's good. Asphalt can't even come close to that. You'd have to put 5 asphalt shingles on there to even come close to that. And then on top of that, as you can walk on it, it can withstand 140-mile-an-hour gust. A lot of other roofs can't do that. So I go for the most value that I possibly can when I put something on. Now, if that's a little more money, great, but it far exceeds, again, using the Zip analogy, the added cost in Zip sheeting. It's nothing compared to some of the other value that you can get. For example, designing your home, if you're in a northern climate, so you have passive solar, you're getting sun throughout the course of the day, heating up that home. To me, that's a better planning that costs less than anything else you can do if you do it right. And to me, that's more value. So I could talk forever on it, but I think you get what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like attic trusses, that's a good thing. What I suggest is have your like top 3 things, or when you're getting bids, just bid out 4 2x6. Like if you're going to do 2x4, get that bid, but just have somebody bid 2x6 also. So then you have the 2. Is it worth the price going up? Attic trusses compared to just regular trusses. Do you want the look or do you want the space? Just get bids for those. That's what I would do. And then if you have enough budget for it so on the smaller stuff, like tiling, how much tile to put in the shower, or the new technology in the kitchens with the drawers and that. You just have to know how much, well, just get bids for the things that you have already researched and you like, and see if it fits in your budget.
Okay. Will banks lend to an owner builder for rent? I completed my first build to rent in January, or will the lender require a more experienced builder? Depends on how experienced you are as a business owner. If you're a business owner and you've got a track record of that kind of thing, and they trust you and you've been through the process, then you've built a relationship with a bank that might lend to you because of that. And you're going at it as an investor banker in a way rather than an owner builder. So I take the phrase owner builder out of the equation and just call yourself a property owner, or really a real estate investor. And you call yourself a real estate investor, and it comes with it the automatic understanding that you know what you're talking about. That's what you want. Banks are looking that you have success, you have a proven track record, they can trust that, and there's going to be a level of trust when it comes to lending. It's not just all numbers game. It's also just some element of trust that you can pull off what you say you're going to pull off. Good evening. I'm curious about your opinion about people building homes in Arizona desert. Has building science solved many of the challenges of trying to build in the desert? Thanks. Yeah, to be honest with you, that's one of the easiest places to build in the nation. Anytime you're building in a dry climate, it's pretty easy because you don't have to worry about cold condensing surfaces. You don't have to worry about there's major temperature drops. And you do have your monsoon seasons, but most of the time it's arid and dry. And so try building in Newport Beach, California. Just go there if you're ever on a coast, anywhere from Seattle, Oregon, all the way to San Diego, Florida, all the way up the East Coast. Just go look at the devastation of homes that have to withstand that kind of constant combatments with water. I mean, every night, water's falling on those homes. You got termites, you got rot, you got rust, you got decay, you got all these things. Why do they put airlines that go to the graveyard, major planes that are now defunct? Why do they put them in Arizona? Because it's dry and they're not going to rust and they're not going to decay. And so you have that advantage in building in Arizona. You can literally go out and paint a fence post, and it will last twice, if not 3 times longer than most wood fences or any kind of wood product in other parts of the country. So you have an advantage. The real challenge you have is whether or not you can build an envelope that can slow down the transfer of heat from the outside to the inside. So if you have a temperature on the inside and it's 75 degrees on the inside and it's 115 on the outside, what's the temperature differential between there? That's almost 20 degrees plus, if that's more than that. 75, 20, that could be 30 to 35 degrees temperature differential between the outside and the inside. And so what do we know about heat? Heat chases cold. So it's going to want to work its way into the home. And that's where sealing up the home becomes an advantage to some degree, because you don't want any cold condensing surface happening. Now, it's not that cold like you would have minus 30 degrees or 29 degrees. That's a cold condensing surface. But it's cold enough to do some damage if you don't do things right. So, but even if you do it right, the arid temperature is going to dry things off so fast that it's not going to have time to do any damage. I was watching an episode years ago about an old pioneer home in Texas, which is an arid climate, but they have some monsoons like you have. And they opened up the inside of the home. And it was 110 years old, and it had no insulation in it at all. Yet the exterior was all batten board. It was this old, actually shiplap, and it was raw cedar shiplap. and the weather had hit that over and over and over and over again, year after year, but it still survived versus a house down the street. And they did a comparison. The house down the street had stucco on it. And the stucco house, they opened up and it was rot everywhere. Why? Because that water is penetrable inside the stucco, and it can cold condensing surface, and it sits there. There's no rain screen. There's no ability for that water to dry off behind that stucco versus the other house, totally porous, totally open, and it survived. It's been around for a long time. I just did a Pioneer home built in 1864, one of the oldest homes built out west, literally one of the oldest homes. And it was literally cedar logs sitting on dirt, but it was open air, just open air everywhere. So if anything got wet, it was constantly drying off. So that's the advantage you have in Arizona, is you have this constant drying off of a home. Even if you built it poorly, it's going to actually help survive that home over a long period of time. So it's how well you really want to build that to keep out the heat, because the winters are nice. If you can just keep out the heat during the summer, and that's what, 3-4 months of nastiness, that's what you're fighting. So look at your weather, look at your environment. That's going to tell you what you need to do to protect yourself and build a well-built home.
Okay, something that you can do, a little housekeeping, if you're watching right now, is give us a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, you need to subscribe to How to Build Your Own Home.
Yep.
So, okay, here we go.
Might build a 2-car shop on site before starting on my home, something I want regardless. Could be used for tools, equipment, and to allow me to buy materials in advance when I see deals. Worth it? Yeah. It's a stepping stone, and it's a staged approach to building. And my wife and I know we've done that. We didn't have the garage until much later, but we did a staged situation. And that's really, and if you think about it, a lot of big construction companies build like that. They build in stages. So they want to get a floor done real quick so they can get other guys in there, while other guys are working up top. And as soon as they get that first shell in, man, it speeds things up, because then they can store things and it increases logistics and all that kind of stuff. I remember when I was building a hotel in Vegas years ago, it was like a 36-story hotel, and the first floor was mostly built out, but they used it to store toilets and bathtubs and tile and all kinds of material. And you just went down that bottom floor, grabbed your stuff, came it up the floor, and you didn't have to have any logistics outside the build envelope for that. You had all the internal logistics, and that's basically what you're talking about, is you can actually use that garage to house materials.
And I guess depending on timing, like, would you pull 2 permits if you did the garage first and built that? And then
no, you can do that in 2 permits, but if it's an attached garage, they're going to want it on 1 permit. And to be honest with you, I've used the garage, even though I didn't finish with a certificate of occupancy, but I've used the garage because it's finished, but I use it to store materials. And it's ongoing build. It's part of the build process. You're not living in it. You're using it efficiently for the rest of the build. So it's all part of the same permit, same process. And they won't give you a garage as a CO, especially if it's attached. They're going to want that all part of the same permit.
Yeah, it seems like most houses are out that way. They usually store extra lumber or drywall or the windows before they're installed into the house. They put them in the garage.
I'm looking right now and trying to find out oil prices. I wanted to get people's aware of that. Right now, Brent crude trading around $111, and West Texas Intermediate crude is $98 a barrel to $111 a barrel. So keep that in mind. Try to find out and know where the cost of oil is going. It was $50 a barrel just a month and a half ago. So you're going to start to see that affect some prices here and there. I called my lumber yard, and they're going to honor a bid I got for a client right now, even though lumber could be going up a little bit here and there. So they'll honor that. So lock in your prices, watch the price of crude. It's one of the biggest telltale signs for price inflation of materials because of the distribution costs to move materials across the country, even just across town. So keep an eye on crude. If it goes to 130, 150, it's going to be a real, you'll feel it. It's going to be a pinch, and you'll feel it on your material costs. So everyone, please watch out for that. Okay, this is David Parker. What do you think about single slope homes? I heard they can be cheaper to build, plus could give an advantage of solar energy when facing south. Yeah, they can. They're architecturally appealing if done right. If done wrong, you can create some nasty dead valleys, and you've got some serious problems. In the Midwest, I wouldn't recommend them, and here's why. You've got some nasty high winds that come through there, and that's like a big, huge sail. And if wind catches underneath that, it's going to tear off your entire roof. If I can break up the roof at all and not have a one single sail like that, all the better. It's okay for mountain homes, areas with less high wind, maybe some coastal areas without hurricanes. On the West Coast, maybe for sure, but not necessarily the East Coast. I think about weather. I think about my environment. I think about that a lot. And after having built a home that survived a fire and survived a flood, I think about those types of things. And we see on the news all the time stuff happening, like all those homes that burnt down in the Palisades. That did not have to happen. All the homes that burnt down in the Hawaii fire, that did not have to happen. All the homes that get torn down because of earthquakes in Haiti doesn't need to happen. I'm being honest. It doesn't necessarily need to happen. You go down to Mexico and they build with concrete rebar, and they do have earthquakes and they do have floods, but these things stick. That's just a solid building technology. It's the two products they have, rebar and concrete. So I'm always a very sturdy builder. My client, I walked him through the build yesterday, and he says, Keith, I'm so glad you put 8x8 post beams on my home, because it gives me strength. It makes me feel like my home's not going to go anywhere. And an 8x8 post is like that big, and that's a big post. And you'll see it right out that window on that post right there. I could have gone with a 4x4 post. I could have, engineered wise, it could have supported it, but it just wouldn't have held up as much. And strength is one of my number one qualities I like as a builder. And to me, it's one of the highest quality things I go for is strength in wind, strength in fire, strength in flood and moisture penetration. I think about all those things. And then, of course, earthquakes. Having grown up in California, I think about earthquakes. And if you do build strength in those other factors, earthquakes, we had a 5.0 here about a year ago, and I kind of subtly felt it. But I go, that was nothing. Give us something more. Let's see how it handles. So think about your environment. It's the big telltale sign of what you should build and what technologies you should be using. Okay. I see
David says
a lot. They do. And if the fire came through this place, those 4x4 posts would have been at a greater risk. With an 8x8 post, there's so much density in that post that you just got singed on the outside, and we just stained them the same black, and they look great now. So strength is a real plus for me.
Doug
garage and studio ADU. Yeah, there you go. ADUs are really popular right now.
Yeah, when you do your garage, do an attic truss, and then you've got an ADU above it.
Yeah.
And then Peter,
loving all your advice, much appreciated. You are welcome. Patton Hobbs, appreciate that comment. That means a lot to me. Yeah, I wanted to give everyone another student mentioned that they're having a hard time getting subs. And I mentioned this in the course, and I said, stop calling yourself an owner builder. Call yourself a builder. And I'm telling you, that's going to be the number one thing you can do to attract people. Because, for example, this here little toy I got today, this present I got, that was given to all of their builders. And this is like $150 carabiner, a really cool toy. But they don't give that to owner builders because you call yourself an owner builder. Call yourself a builder, and maybe you get some toys. I don't know. But that's the real big tell. And when I first started this course, I learned this invaluable lesson. I had a student building a fourplex in San Diego, California. She was my second student, and she was going after this. And she says she was afraid that people wouldn't think that she was serious about what she could do. And I go, just walk tall like you're a builder. That's what I told her. Walk tall. And she was able to get bids because she just called herself that. And it's been kind of a mantra I've had ever since. Call yourself a builder. Even if you're a realtor, you can call yourself a developer. Call yourself a real estate investor. Call yourself a builder. Call yourself anything but an owner builder. Just call it and get rid of the owner. Take that and burn it. Take it out there, and before you even start the process, take the word owner, put it on a piece of paper and burn it, and never speak of it again. Just say, I'm a builder. I'm a builder. And
because I can't tell you how many students we've had and loved it, and then they go on to build more.
Yeah, several of them. I was reading a story. It's actually a Native American story here. And this culture came up through the Gulf of California. And they were leaving Mexico area. And they were coming up. And they didn't want to stay in the Gulf. A lot of the natives that came up, a lot of them stayed there right at the Gulf. Oh, there's enough fish. We can hunt. And we can do all this kind of stuff. It's wonderful. But another group didn't want to because the leader of the group says, I work with wood. I'm a builder. I've got to go find wood. So we went further up the river until they were able to get, closer into the mountains. And he says, okay, I can make a life now because I know how to use the materials that are here locally. And because he was a builder. And so call yourself that. Say, I'm a builder. And that's going to push off that understanding on others that, okay, he knows what he's talking about. So don't ever call yourself an owner builder. Bad news. Okay, do I have any other questions? Giving you an update on my under house garage ceiling. I wanted to do plywood, but building code requires to have 1 hour system installed. Now I'm doing 5/8 glass reinforced drywall. Yep. Yeah, in garages, you have to have a fire rated wall. And it's a thicker drywall. It's 5/8 thick. It's really thick. And it's heavy. It's not easy to install. So I keep in mind your doors have to be fire rated as well. So keep that in mind for garages. Okay, good comment. Have you ever used BFS Ready Frame? That's the lumber that's pre-cut, labeled, if I'm correct. So when it arrives, you just put it together. No, I have never been interested in it because when it arrives, more than likely 10 to 15% of that lumber is going to be skewed. So you're going to have to get new lumber anyway to bring there to the job site. And my framers are really, really good. My designers are really, really good. We can order lumber pretty much at 110, 101 lengths, and they're pre-cut, ready to go. I don't have to trim them. I just put them in. It's almost the same thing. You can build and design in such a way so a lot of your lumber is ready to rock and roll. So I don't know why anyone, and then I'd have to figure out every piece of lumber, and that I have to hunt down where that piece of lumber is going to be. I'm talking smack right now, but and I like the idea. It's maybe good for some people, but my framers would go bonkers on that. They just want to cut up on a bunk and go to work. So, and to me, it's probably not worth the hassle. So, something to think about. Thanks for the question, though. I appreciate that. Well, let's end that today. It's a beautiful day, and I want to go out and dig some posts and put in a fence post around my house. And we'll be back here next Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Have your questions. If you can't be here and you're watching us later on, check us out at How to Build Your Own Home. Go there, contact the instructor, reach out, have your question. I'll print it out and I'll answer those questions first. It's not a problem. I enjoy doing that. And again, take the First Steps course. It's the best primer course out there for thinking about being an owner builder. And then again, don't forget the coupon code. I had a student reach out to me this morning. Hey, what about a coupon code? And I go, well, you purchased the self-managed course without the coupon code. You have to go and watch the last course and then use that coupon code to get you a discount for the self-managed course. So make sure you do that. We'll see you guys next week, and like and subscribe. And thanks for being here this evening.